Hey, I'm Aaron. I'm one of the founders of Deliver That.
I'm John, other co-founder of Deliver That. Welcome to the Founder Series.
Founders for life. There is this network of people in Northeast Ohio that no one realizes what we're doing.
Yep.
And the innovation that's coming out of NEO. So I'm excited for this episode today.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, guys. And Aaron, you're spot on. There is a covert group in Northeast Ohio, even Northeast like U.S., that just gets stuff done. They're up to some very fascinating things. And because we're not, West Coast, you just don't ever hear about it.
We're not Harvard grads here. I think I graduated with like a 2.3 GPA.
I don't even remember.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, you just made up a degree.
Yeah, that was the program.
Yeah.
You could name it, and you could pick all the classes
Typically,
you want.
people get like a BA or a BS. Me and John have what you call a BSS, a bachelor's degree of specialized studies. What was your degree in again?
Real estate and entrepreneurship principles.
I didn't. So I was going to do a BS in finance, but I did a BSS in finance.
Yep.
Love that.
I didn't get in business school.
I went to college at first strictly just for football, and I say that out loud because I had no interest going otherwise.
Yeah.
I got a scholarship, and that's also the only reason why I went. And I went out to Fairmont State. I played out there for a little while. Got banged around a little bit. Did the whole thing of wanting to go pro from a D2 school to realizing that your body's not quite capable and my skill set's not there. So.
And were you like a linebacker? You look like you're a pretty middle linebacker, like clog some holes.
Yeah, so I played at like 245, 260.
Wait a minute, what?
And
it's our podcast.
And I played any high impact position that needed a move. So I played DN, D tackle, stand up backer sometimes, fullback, pulling guard. Okay. Anything. I was just that guy that put a helmet on.
Swiss Army knife.
Just go hit somebody. Yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah, we got a bunch of football guys in the building. Our head of e-commerce, he was a running back at Wittenberg. CEO, he was a lineman at Eastern Michigan.
And Pugh coached at Fairmount.
Yeah, Jake, our VP of Ops and Implementation, he was a center at Eastern Michigan.
That's cool.
Yeah, with
So
Darren.
we got a bunch of football guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Ben was saying that one coached at Fairmont State.
Yeah, Pugh coached basketball.
Yeah. In fact, he coached with Missoula.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's now at the Celtics.
Very cool.
He just won.
Coaching basketball. So the highlight of Fairmont State when I was there, as far as event goes, this was when like Flo Rida, if you guys know that artist, this is when he like became.
I saw him in concert.
He was like coming up, so to say. This is like 2009. He might have been more established. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure like he was not well known.
Me right.
Exactly. And I remember one day there was a bunch of activity going on in the gym, the basketball gym, and. I was like, what's going on here? And everyone was saying, oh, somebody named Florida is performing today. And so everyone was like, well, who's this guy? Fast forward a few years, obviously everyone knows who Flo Rida is, but we were calling him Florida. Not making fun of him. We just didn't know who he was at the time.
That's incredible.
We have a similar story. I never saw it, but didn't Waka Flocka come to our fraternity house in college and like perform?
I think it might have been like the year before we were there or something like that.
Yeah. I guess kind of the same, but people knew who Waka Flocka was at the time.
Yeah, still a fan.
So did you graduate from Fairmont?
No, so here's how that went. Played football out there, made the travel team as a freshman, all that good stuff. Played behind two All-Americans, Nate Black and his brother Vince, I believe. Awesome experience. Didn't play nearly as much as I thought I would because of that. And rightfully so. They were so much better than me. And you just get banged around, and it's when you play collegiate sports, it's a full-time job and then some.
Yeah.
From the meetings to everything else, it was just brutal. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but you got to be really committed. And after you get hurt a few times and you're not playing as much as you wanted to play, you really start to like contemplate, like, hey, is this for me?
I'm sure.
And because that's your whole identity up to that point, right? If you have a goal of playing collegiate sports, no matter what it is, all of high school, that's all you're training for. Middle school, it's all you and your buddies talk about. So when you finally get there, you're extremely motivated. And then you realize, like, oh, I have to stay disciplined. I can't just be motivated anymore. But long story short, I ended up getting hurt out there, and I had multiple injuries over the course of my playing time there, from my ankle to my knee to my shoulder I broke 9 of my fingers. It was nonstop. Yeah, just, again, high impact position. Won't hit anybody, and it showed. But to answer your question, I walked away from football after 3 years, and I was going to say, like, that was it. I moved home, didn't know what to do with myself, and it was a tough choice. Well, so I didn't end up graduating from Fairmont, but I remember that before the summer, I was back home with some friends, and everybody from my football team, not everybody, but a few people from my team, they ended up going and playing at Walsh, at Malone, at a few different spots. And I was done. Like, I'd been okay with the concept of I'm not playing any longer. And then I got a call from Malone's football coach because of a friend that went there. And he essentially said, hey, do you have one more year left in you? And I kind of laughed it off. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then you sit there for 3 days, and that's all you think about. Like, I got one more, like, here I go. I got one more. And I did. I played one last season at Malone. And that's all I did at Malone. I did not go there to do school. Obviously, that's part of it, but I didn't care about that, if I'm being completely honest. I just want to get one more season in. So fast forward, I still didn't graduate at that point. Ended up getting into, I just got into the make money train. Like, I wanted to do something productive, and essentially, I that's when I started getting into business, trying to get into houses and all those kind of things. I ended up not getting a degree until that was 10 years later, and I got it from Columbia College, which is a Bachelor of Science in Business.
So you would have graduated 2011, 2012.
Yeah. Yep.
So instead, you didn't finish till 2021.
Yeah, because I didn't care for it. Yeah. I was into different things, and eventually, like, so I have a few kids, and I just realized, like, okay, there's a whole debate on, is college worth it or not. Yeah. I'm not speaking to that by any means. I don't want to step on toes, but having kids that look up to you, scrutinize every move that you do and whatnot, I wanted to make sure I didn't just write it off because I didn't like it. I wanted to make sure that one, I got something out of my time there, because at that point I had, 90 credits completed, so I didn't have much to go anyways. And so I just went back 10 years later to wrap it up.
That's nice. So. Yeah, I think college, it just shows you could check. For me, it's like a big check the box when it's not an engineer or a lawyer or doctor. But it shows that you can you could say, I'm going to go do something, and it shows that you actually can follow through. That, to me, is what I see.
Like, if you look at our experience, John, our college experience, like, I went to school to be I wanted to be a surgeon. And not because I wanted to help people, which sounds ridiculous, but I wanted to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
John wanted to be an engineer. Right? What type of engineer?
Mechanical.
Yeah. So, what did you want to do again?
Design car headlights.
Cool. So, like, and then what college, I feel like, taught us, I was a 4.0 student.
It's very specific, by the way.
He's thought about it quite a bit. But
I was willing to give it up pretty quick,
but, like,
pretty easily.
I remember, like, I think you're the same way. Like, when we first started, I was a 4.0 student for the first, I think, 3 semesters. I went to school.
I remember my first class was English, and I was so pumped to go to class and write papers. I never had that. But I never cared like that.
But then, you get into more of, like, the other classes, and you're like, what is this?
Yep.
And it's like, is this even applicable to, like, I remember going into, like, a sociology class or an anthropology class. Yep. I'm like, I just don't care about this.
And then you're paying for it.
Yeah, it's
like
high
the worst
school,
part you weren't paying.
That's just the worst part about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, for college, for me, it was almost like it reinforced to me, as we started our delivery business, that's like, I'm not meant for a corporate 9-to-5 job. I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like that's what I figured out in college. And I to this day, I still, say this. I got my degree from my mom. That's why I got it. That's why I finished.
Yeah.
I think you were the same way, right?
Yeah,
like,
for my parents, for sure.
I think you even talked about you wanted to drop out.
Oh, yeah.
College.
There was one semester I took like 2 classes. I was ready to be done. Yeah.
So
somehow finished. I don't know how I finished.
Yeah. So Tyler, but you do have you have an athletic background. You're an athlete, so you're obviously you're a very competitive person. I would assume, like, you want to win.
Very much so.
Like, is there a time, like, before you even got to college, or maybe it was in college or before that? Like, when did you get, like, your first bite of the entrepreneurial bug? Like, was it when you were younger? Like, I was shoveling driveways, mowing grass. In fact, I think I showed a business card of when I was like 8 years old. I made Hoffman Brothers Services business card with my older brother David, and like we would just, it was ridiculous, but it's like
cool.
I was always
Hoffman
walking.
Services service.
Yeah,
Something?
Hoffman Services at your service. It's ridiculous. I was 8 years old, man. I know you like to make fun of me, but yeah.
A little
So
jab. That's great.
whatever. But like, is there any like moment you can go back and say, wow, like I knew I was meant to be in business?
Yeah, and you don't really realize it till certain things happen in your life. Hindsight's kind of really cool to reflect on sometimes. But for me, looking back, and I don't know if it was just a kid keeping himself busy, but I used to make cartoons, and I used to draw them. I can't draw to save my life, by the way. It'd take me super long. And I'd make this comic book, and my mom still has these today. And she tries to bring them out like every Christmas and whatnot. I say, put those things away, like can't happen. But I used to draw these comics, The Adventures of Salami and Cheese. So obviously I've been a foodie my whole life, and I don't know why or where I got the inspiration. But
Yeah, I think we need to pop those up.
We need
on
to
the
get like some
screen.
pictures of that, some salami and cheese.
yeah, just like put them right here. Yeah, I'll see if I can find some. And I don't know why I did it. I must have seen it from somebody, something on TV. I must have heard a lemonade stand story. I have no idea. I was probably 7 years old, and I got, as cliche as it sounds, I remember I spent, it felt like months, like making these comic books. It was probably like 2 days, right? And I would staple them together, and I so proudly signed like, by Ty, on the front. And I remember putting them in my little red wagon, and I didn't live on a busy road by any means. There might have been like 20 cars a day kind of vibes. And I remember like going up to my driveway with my wagon full and putting like a 25-cent sticker on the wagon and just sitting there. My parents didn't know I was doing it. And my dad, he got home from work and he says, "What you doing, kid?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just selling these comic books." And he's like looking at them, caught him by surprise. That is probably the earliest memory that I have of doing something similar.
How old were you?
I was probably like maybe 6 or 7, somewhere in that range.
That's great.
Man, that's early.
Yeah, and I don't know if I saw somebody on like Hey Arnold doing it or why I did it, but
Great show, by the way.
yes,
Phenomenal
of
show.
course, the best bedroom
90s cartoons.
yeah, you can't beat it.
Best bedroom on the planet.
Yeah, so jealous of that. But that's probably the earliest thing I remember. But even after that, like I remember reflecting, I always, like during school, college, all those things, were there times where I thought like, oh, corporate America, I'll get there? Yeah, absolutely. But I would say 80% of the time, I just felt so different than like my path was such in a different spot than everybody else that was around me. And they're talking about like, I'll work 6 years here, then I'll go here and I'll do this. I just remember like reflecting like, that sounds awful. Like that's not for me. And even in middle school, there was times I remember like telling myself, and I was a decent student when I wanted to be, I could apply myself very well, but I just remember like everybody was so into the concept of school and all those things, and all I wanted to do was play sports and do whatever I wanted to do. So a little rebellious early on, I guess. But I even remember then like telling myself, hey, Ty, it's okay. There's other options. Like you'll start a business, whatever it might be. And I only say that, and this was like 8th grade. Once you get a little bit more advanced and exposed to the world, I think an early impression on me was my father owned a building company early on, and I was too young to know what he did. I just knew that people would call him, and he would take his work van and go to these places, and he would take them stuff and do services and you name it. And then he'd come home at night, and I thought he was so cool because he did those things. And so I think that was the earliest, most impressionable thing that I experienced early on, and that was again probably around middle school that happened. So I think that drive it's probably naturally intertwined. Probably an element of being competitive, probably another element of just being stubborn and not wanting to do what somebody was telling me to do at the time. But yeah, just in reflection, I guess it's always been a part of me. Just it kind of manifested itself in the older I got.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's an entrepreneur. Your dad was an entrepreneur. He owned pretzel stands. My dad owned, machinery company.
Both of our moms.
Yeah, his mom is a world. I'm not say famous, but like a world class. I mean, she is like you can tell stories about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like signing autographs, books, author. I mean. My mom, same way. She's a hustler. Taught me at an early age, like you got to work for what you have, for what you get. But I kind of want to just jump into something real. So we like to do this to where we give the founder a chance. Very high level. Just can you pitch the business to us? Like, what is TurnServ? Right? And I know it's not like how you started, but like, can you pitch us like real quickly, what is TurnServ?
So TurnServ is a platform of in-house brands. We serve some of the largest multifamily partners, property managers in the world. We essentially, in a nutshell, what we do is we go in between renters and we make the apartment rent ready for the next person. And we do that through our synergistic brands. So TurnServ is the main platform. We own apartmentpainters.com, apartmentflooring.com. And I say the full names and the websites because it explains what we do. I stole that concept from Brian Scudamore of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, by the way. Shout out to him. And then Liquid Liner is our bathtub and tile refinishing brand. And so essentially we're built for enterprise scale to provide quick, convenient solutions for the property management world, which operates very fast.
Mm-hmm.
You got a guy over here that's got
like that.
he owns a building. It's not rented right now, and they could use some help.
Oh, it's rented.
Okay.
Fully? Whole thing?
70%.
See?
Not bad.
Never get the whole story from him. I never get the whole story.
Call
But-
TurnServ, man. We got you.
But no, that's awesome. I mean, and kind of getting into your story now about your, how you got to where you're at right now. Like, you graduated. You didn't graduate college.
Correct.
Didn't
Left
graduate
college.
college. Left college. What are you doing now to make money? And then how does is there a moment where you're like, I know I got to do this. I know
Yeah.
I got to start. Like, just walk us through that.
So deciding to walk away from football was one thing, and then telling myself I could walk away from school too was hard, to be honest with you, because
Because you had 4 years.
I was close.
Yep.
I was really close, and it's everything that you go through at that point. Just like, oh, no, I'm going to leave school. I'm going to be a loser. Like, who knows what happens here?
Yeah.
And so when I did that, I kind of did it quietly. Like, it was one thing to ask, like, have friends or family or people that knew me, like, hey, how's football going? Like, oh, I don't play anymore. I couldn't say, like, oh, I dropped out of school completely, just because I didn't want to confront that quite yet. But I left school, and I knew, like, all right, I got to figure this out. Like, I felt like that window was closing, that self-imposed timer that we all have. And I just remember sitting there, like, I remember telling myself, like, I just don't know enough about anything to do anything worthwhile. Like, and I know that sounds critical, but I looked up to, from a business component, I looked up to the titans of industry. I looked up to portfolio managers, and I don't know why I had such an affinity towards these types, but the Larry Finks of the world, the Bill Ackmans, the as cliche as it is, the Warren Buffetts of the world, like that really appealed to me. I knew I wanted to do something around that structure, but I wasn't sure what it was. And the big thing for me was I just wanted to be productive. When I left school, when I quit playing football, I knew I just didn't want to sit at home and do nothing. And so I got to work doing whatever I could to make money. And essentially that segued into me starting eventually a handyman business, because I wanted to get in real estate, because I heard that's how people got rich, was in real estate.
Yep,
So
for sure.
that's the prelim, what I decided to do initially.
I think that's why John got that degree
Yeah.
in real estate from OU.
Well, yeah, and you take your 4 real estate classes, and I was like, well, I guess I'm getting a real estate degree. That's the
go.
classes you need to be a realtor. But I think what's in the athlete thing, which I think this is how I thought about it when we were starting our business, is that, if you can get good at a sport, then inherently deep down that if you work hard at something, you can get really good at it, and you can apply that to anything, whether you realize it or not. It's like that's in you, that if I work really hard at being a contractor if I work really hard, I will be good. You'll end up getting good at it, right? I think that to me is what I looked at athletes in that light when we were starting our business. So if I want athletes to work with us and work for us, because
That was like our initial filter. Were you handy? Like were you a builder originally? Like, were you could you? If I told you, hey man, I need this light fixture installed, could you do that?
The short answer is absolutely not. And it's not too helpful trying to start a handyman business. The reason why I say absolutely not is because I'm very impatient, or at least I was. I'm still struggle sometimes with that today. But how I normally operate is I go down a rabbit hole, and I will do something way more than it should be done, and I will spend way too much time on 30 components of it when it really requires 2. And I would always burn myself out. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. Or I'd pick something up, and at that time, I very active mind, and it goes from one thing to the next very quickly. And I remember doing it at that time, and I would have to do, anytime I got a small job to do, I was super excited because I could be there for 2 hours and be gone, versus if I got a big job that paid the bills quite well, to be honest, I wouldn't be as excited about it, just because I couldn't keep it going, so to say. So capable of being handy, yes, but conceptually with all of my flaws and everything else, no.
So you're not inherently handy. You're impatient. You're obviously wired very similar to me. I go a million miles an hour. And by the way, it's not a bad thing. Okay, it's like that's a profile you need if you're being a CEO and a founder. I feel like you need to be able to move fast.
Sure.
It's one of the biggest pieces of advice Jeff Bezos gives founders is like you have to be able to pivot like that very quickly. So I wouldn't necessarily call that like a bad thing. It's just understanding it, which obviously you do, and knowing you need to be supported.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so you have a handyman business, you're getting clients, you're getting the bills paid. Keep going on. Like is there another moment you're like, aha,
Yes.
this is it.
Yes.
This is what I want to do.
And it can be, again, it's related to speed. So I was doing the handyman thing, and I felt cool because like I saw my dad doing those like similar things. Not exactly the same, but similar. And I remember I was doing this, and then one day I got a call from a real estate investor. I didn't know this at the time. And he says, hey, I have a house. Can you come? I don't forget what it was, the gutters. I probably still have pictures of this, by the way. That'd be so cool if I found those. But it was the first job, in hindsight, realizing it, first job I did for a real estate investor. And I said, oh, cool, you're moving in here? And he kind of laughed. And he said, no. I said, okay, like, what did I miss here? And he's like, this is one of my investment properties. I was like, oh, okay, got it. And then I did more small jobs with him and a few more. And then he called me once and he says, hey, you do all these things individually for me. These are small jobs. How do you feel about doing a full renovation for me? And that was that aha moment.
And you were doing any type of job that anyone would. You were a general contractor?
Yeah, anything from gutters to flooring to finding somebody to do the wiring, you name it. I was doing it. And
that was the aha moment.
That was the aha moment, having an investor ask me to do a full-fledged house.
So when you go into that, you've never done it before. It's like, did you attack it differently? Did you bring a crew of guys in? Like how did you actually deliver results?
Yeah, how many mistakes did you?
Oh yeah. So the first one probably took me 50 to 60% longer than it should have. I don't want to say it was methodical, but just kind of by circumstance, that's how it went. And I viewed it this way, and I talked to my father a lot about this, and he gave me a lot of direction too. I was already doing bids. I was already doing all those things, and the dollar amount for those jobs, let's say the average ticket was $1,000. Well, I broke it down into draw structures and just categorized it, compartmentalized this whole process. And I was still using the same proposals I had with the same legal language on it. The only thing that really changed was just the amount of volume in the scope. And so that's what I convinced myself. I think it was a self-serving, don't stress yourself out too much here. Don't overthink this. Just break it down. Yeah. What probably was trying not to have a panic attack, if I'm being honest with you, because the scope was so different. And so I just broke that down into sections, and essentially it was me doing it, but I had a few people in my life that were also handy and could do things, or at least handier than I was. And I just told them, like, hey, I'll pay you $15 an hour cash if you just come help me do this. And the first couple, like, yeah, sure, let's go. And so the first one really just went slowly. I controlled all the quality and made sure the job was done well and all those kind of things. But really, it was mostly me with a couple of extra hands helping out here and there. And then, by the next one, I approached it differently to where, hey, here's how I'm going to bid these out going forward, or here's how I'm going to break these up. Here's how I'm going to handle the draw structure so I don't run out of cash. It just kind of snowballed from there.
What year is this?
That was probably 2014, 2015, give or take, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was probably drunk in a bar at OU at that point in my life, or doing deliveries at OU.
Well, yeah, because we started 2013, so we were beginning just as well.
December, I think 6th, 2013. And that was the date we officially incorporated. But again, there's a lot of business owners out there that do what you just described, that are general contractors that can actually execute, take a big project, chunk it up, and do it. I think what you do now is such a different business than that. So can you sort of get into when you started to develop proprietary products?
Sure.
Or you start buying these different, you mentioned earlier that you copied, what was the gentleman's name again?
So Brian Scudamore.
The guy at 1-800-JUNK?
Yeah, O2E Brands.
Okay, okay. So you sort of, learn from him what he's doing. When was that?
Sure. Yeah, here's how that bridge went. And again, it's right on brand for, it wasn't fast enough. It wasn't big enough for me. So I wanted the next level. after the first house I did, right, which was a big jump from handyman to house flipper, so to say, I started just building that out. I built my team up to like 12 to 15 people, give or take. And I started working with investors far and wide. A lot of my investors were out of California. I'd never even met them in person before, but they were introduced like through a third party. And so I had a lot of people that were just willing to throw me money and, hey, find a house, flip it, and, you know, take your services out. You get 10% of the profits and give us the rest. And it was going really well. And I thought for a minute there, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the right path. And then, you know, it kept on going, building, and all those things. I was getting numerous offers every week to find a house, flip a house, you name it. And I looked at the team, and by this time I'm working 80, 90 hours a week because I'm not only just doing the services, I was also doing the admin.
It's like you're running the business.
Full scope.
I mean, finding an investment property is
it's
not easy. And then doing it at scale.
Right.
And you haven't even started the work yet. Yeah, that's a lot.
Absolutely. And so I was excited, but then I realized that excitement wore off because I was present for everything. And this was early in my journey. I wasn't a fantastic manager. I wasn't a great facilitator. I couldn't delegate to save my life because I didn't know what to delegate. I would just show up and just wait for things to hit me. And so, needless to say, I got burnt out with that. And it got to the point where I just said, like, you know, every house, it was unpredictable. You have no idea what you're going to find in the foundation, underneath the roof. You have no idea, and nothing's the same. Color schemes are different. Structures are different. Even if you buy the same type, square footage, et cetera, there's always these variables that you just can't anticipate happening. And I hated it, to be honest with you. I thought that I built the business I wanted, and I was on my way to being successful. And I just remember being so burnt out, and I remember like thinking to myself, like, I don't know what you built, but this is not what you wanted. Like, you can't do this. And so I talked to a mentor, and he probably didn't understand the direction of my conversation with him at first. And I'll happily say his name because we've talked about this over the years. David Heller of NRP Group. I don't think he realizes how much he helped me at the time of my life. I remember going to him, and initially it was about I was trying to streamline all the woes I had with all the variables and having all these different investors at the time. I approached David and I said, hey, do you guys want to do a residential portfolio? We'll buy the same asset types. We'll do the same exact remodels, same countertops, benefit from the economies of scale, have the same contractors come in, the subcontractors come in and do it. And they really took light to it. And essentially what they said was they came back, and I needed to get the majority board vote to approve it, even though it was a small deal. And I thought that we had it, and it came back, and essentially it went, hey, you didn't get majority vote to pass this. He's like, you got some votes, but you didn't get enough. I said, okay. And I remember, like, that was devastating because that was going to be like my I'm out of this. Like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like, I can change it. I don't have to feel pain any longer. And then when I got that, obviously your first response is anger. And, like, you know, you're like, well, you guys can't see it.
Yeah,
know?
exactly. You always, you don't want to look yourself in the mirror.
I mean, how many times have we had that feeling?
Dude,
Holy
I have it every week.
Yeah.
Maybe every day, actually.
So that happened, and David reached out to me, and he gave me some words of wisdom, and he's very kind. He told me that the deal wasn't large enough, and at the time I said, I know we're talking about a few $1 million. He says, yeah, our average deal is like 80 million to 100, and he's like, do you think that this model could support that? And I wanted so badly to tell him, like, yeah, absolutely, but like in my head I'm like, no, like that's not feasible. I just can't do it. And I told him, I was like, no, it's just not reasonable. I don't want to lie to you. Like, it's not going to be a thing. And he said, you need to look bigger. You need to look into multifamily. And that's what got me looking at multifamily.
How many homes did you flip?
Dozens. And it's, I don't know the exact number because some were full flips and some were like partial remodels, renovations and whatnot.
Yeah, you'd find a deal where it's like almost ready to go. You just have to touch up.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't feel like a full-fledged value add.
Yeah.
A lot of the things we would do, Burr method, quite a lot.
Yep.
And some we would just sell just to get liquidity.
Yeah.
So on and off, we were probably in a span of 4 years, we were probably in over and this is ranging from full flips to touch-ups, probably in over 150 homes. Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, so you have some scale, but it's so fucking hard.
Yeah, every day was different. I spent more time at Home Depot than I did my bed.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I
I
wish,
mean, let's take a second. I love the smell of Home Depot or hardware store.
Not when it's your job, though.
It wears off if you're there every day.
You probably don't notice anymore.
All right, so one of the things that impressed me the most about your story is a product you developed, and to me,
Agreed.
this was brilliant. And if I think of like what an entrepreneur like embodies, it's what you did with this product.
Thank you.
Can you
But
talk? Sorry.
It's the whole process.
That's
Because
what I'm saying. It's,
so many contractors just do contract work.
Zeno,
And then you build a team, and you start flipping homes, and then you realize still not enough. It's going to be basically you're just building yourself a long week of work job.
Yeah.
Well-
and then you go to the next step where you find, how do I get out of this?
I'm specifically talking about liquid liner here.
I understand.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. It's the process. Like when you look at like our story, dude, we started a delivery company with no way to place an order and no vehicle, no bike. How is that even possible?
Yeah, he's like, let's start this. I was like, we don't have a car. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. So it's like, but we figured it out. We did the process. So can you talk us through the liquid liner story? Because I think that to me is like the coolest thing you guys have done.
Yeah.
At least one of them. I don't know the whole story, but
it's one of my favorite by far. And to speak to you guys starting a delivery company, no car, no bike, no nothing, it kind of speaks to the mindset, right? Some people might call that being naive. You guys have been there. I have been there. It's like, no, we'll figure all that out. Like, we're just going to start this and it's going to go. Well, if you're talking to any sensible person, they're going to be like, hey, like,
you're crazy.
Like figure out the first 5 steps. So you're trying to get to 7.
Yeah.
You don't even have the fundamentals yet.
And then you never start.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you put up all these walls.
That's 100% it. People they stall. It's probably out of self-preservation. Their mind's telling them not to do something what they're not prepared for. But people like us, so to say, other entrepreneurs, high impact people, they don't really. I don't want to say they don't consider those things, but they find a way around them.
Yeah.
Liquid liner. So here's that story.
it's so cool.
I mentioned that there's too many variables in residential. Want to get multifamily. I learned everything about multifamily. I was directing a portfolio for a very high net worth individual out in New York. One owner owned a $250 million portfolio. I essentially came in to take his portfolio from third party managed, where I learned all of the intricate details about leasing and retention and maintenance, to owner managed, to where I got to build out his whole company, from naming it to structuring it to working with lawyers and accountants. It was incredible. It was such a good experience. That's when I realized the opportunity, in multifamily, with how predictable it was. 50% of renters move every year. There's a housing shortage. It's never going to go away. Recession proof, all of those things. And I was looking at the market thinking to myself, people are crazy. Why aren't they investing in this? Like, there's such an opportune, there's a massive, colossal opportunity here. They should be exploiting it. And fast forward, I ended up building a service company. Instead of for residential contracting, I did that for multifamily. And essentially I started off doing full-fledged make-readies, which is the process of getting an apartment ready between renters. And I got the same feeling as I did before, like, shoot, I just created a very busy job, because I got like 10 apartments to do, and I was working with my significant other for like 15 hours a day, from cleaning to painting to you name it, we were doing it. John, you know what goes into all this, right? And so it was me again, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to feel this way. Like, this is the model works, but it's almost too well. And so what I did was I looked at our largest yielding service offering, and it was painting. And so I decided, hey, we're just going to be painting from now on. And so people would call TurnServ, and they'd say, hey, I need my full apartment ready. Can you do it? No, but I can paint for you. That conversation happened about 20 times until I realized, like, I should probably change the name if this is all I'm going to be doing. I didn't want to abandon the TurnServ platform yet, because I felt like in the future it'd be very beneficial for somebody.
And people are begging you.
You have
For the service.
You have customers asking you to do this.
So
This is crazy.
You
Every
know
day.
the need's there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what I did was, instead of like overhauling the parent company, I created a new subsidiary. Shout out Dave Mateus.
Mike. That guy has a mean slice, though. All right. A mean slice. Sorry, Mike.
So we started a new subsidiary, and when I was naming it, I wanted it to be specific. I was tired of the variables. I don't want people assuming that we would just do anything anymore. And I just got done reading Brian Scudamore's book, who's the 1-800-GOT-JUNK founder, and he inspired me. I wanted to call it apartmentpainters.com, and I was like, how crazy would it be if this website's available? And so I got on there, on GoDaddy, and it was available. They were asking like $5,000 for this website, which I thought it would have been like a $50,000 website. It shows you how uninterested people were in the space at that time. I reached out to the domain seller and I said, hey, you guys, I looked at the history. Hey, you guys have sat on this domain for 2.5 years. I'm going to make you one offer. And if it's anything but yes, I'm just going to hang up the phone. And he's like, okay, shoot. And I offered him like, I think it was like $2,500 for apartmentpainters.com. He's like, yeah, take it. It's yours. And so that's how I bought that domain. The reason why I say all that, and I'll get into Liquid Liner here next. I wanted to break up the brands and the service offerings where we could focus and specialize in one small niche, so to say. That way, we didn't have to pretend that we could paint, football stadiums or anything else like that. It was truly just apartments, and that was it. They're big rectangles, two colors.
Sick of the calls of not being able to do this.
You want it segmented enough to where it's like you could have a specific brand for that.
Correct.
For that.
I wanted to
that
specialize.
Product essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to compartmentalize. Yep. And so Apartment Painters took off. We did our thing. That business grew. By our third year, we were doing $1.5 million in revenue. It skyrocketed in growth, and it was predictable. We produced the same outcomes every single time. Same margin, same everything. We built it for scale, and we had the largest property managers in the world validating us. So fast forward, here's how I got into Liquid Liner. We had a good paint team, our own W-2 technicians. They would do the services.
Nice.
We would do the same reoccurring buildings over and over again. We knew our clientele very well, first name basis, checking on them, send them Christmas cards, all that kind of stuff. And one of our best painters, he called one day, and for him to call, it was kind of atypical because if he can't service something, it marks it as such and on to the next one. Well, he called me, he said, I can't service this. I'm not sure what's going on. There's a bad smell going on. I said, okay, like no problem at all. Get out of there, man. Like, I trust you. Next day, same thing. He called me. He said, hey, I don't know what's going on. We can't service this unit again. 2 days in a row, I was like, all right, something's up here. And so I tell him, hey, wait for me. Like, go outside, and I'll be up there in a little bit. This was up at, it was on the west side of Cleveland. And I get up there right away. I get in this hallway, and I see the paint team, right? They're far enough away from the apartment, but you still smell this awful smell. And I remember walking up there. I was like, oh, I smell it too. I was like, you got to get out of here if you want. I was like, no, hang on. I'm curious too. We went into this apartment unit, and there was somebody in there in a full-fledged hazmat suit and a big white suit. It looked like the character from Big Hero 6 or whatever that's called, if you guys are familiar.
I'm not, but I can picture in my head. Okay. Hazmat suit.
Yeah, you got to Google it. And there was fumes everywhere. There was an air mover hanging out the window. It was loud. There was a sprayer. So picture all of these droning noises plus the smell. You can't see anything. And there's an apartment or a bedroom, I should say, full of sprayers, toolboxes, everything else. And I remember, like, I put a mask over my mouth for a second, and I'm like looking around, and I see this guy in the bathroom. He looks like an alien, right? And he's just spraying stuff on the walls. I was like, oh, he's just painting the walls. Like, that's weird. But I was curious. Like, I was going to leave, but then I'm like, wait, why would he spray the walls in the bathroom? Like, why does it smell that bad? That's not normal paint. So my curiosity kind of took over, and I told my paint team to go home or what have you. I essentially waited for that gentleman. I wore a mask in the hall. I sat down. My mind is racing. I'm like, what is he doing? Like, what could possibly? I've been in multifamily at this point for a long time. I've never seen it once. So I waited for him to get done, and I essentially said, hey, I'm not a weirdo. If you let me help you carry your stuff to your car, could I ask you some questions about what you're doing? And he was just happy to get the help. And he's like, yeah, sure, let's go. I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he essentially told me, like, oh, I'm refinishing a bathtub in here. I was like, oh, like, tell me all about it. And I picked his brain for 45 minutes. It's the slowest I walked back and forth to somebody's car ever in my life. And he didn't care, like he just got done. So he was leaving after that. He couldn't care either way. And so I got the basics of what he did. And I asked him, the last thing I asked him, because I wanted to make sure it was viable, because you can come up with the best service in the world, but if it's not profitable or viable and it's a one-man band, it's probably not worth my time. So the last thing I asked him was this. I said, how many hours were you here today? And he said just shy of 4, whatever it was. I said, awesome. One very direct question for you, and don't punch me. He said, shoot. I was like, how much money did you make today? He said, I charged him $800 for this. And I said, okay. And so that's all I needed to hear at that point. Not because I wanted to fill my pockets full of money. Yes, I want those things too, but because I want to make sure that it was a tangible, viable
opportunity.
Opportunity. That's right. And so I didn't go home. Instead, I called my rep from Sherwin-Williams as soon as I left there. And I said, hey, I need all this stuff. Help me. And he says, yeah, cool. We're going to send it to you. Like, I have these items here, but go to Home Depot for this, and you need this sprayer. It's out at our Indianapolis location. It could be to you in 5 days. I said, no, just I'm going to drive out there. I'll go get it. So I literally, like, this is kind of my impulsive side. Some people say it's a great trait, and at other times it's my biggest Achilles heel, but I kind of love it. I drove to Indianapolis, and it was a long drive. They ended up staying over for me. We're a good client of theirs at the time. Like, Sherwin loves us. Shout out to Sherwin-Williams. We managed a lot of paint product for them at their multifamily complexes. They really went out of their way to make sure that I could still access their store after driving out there. Drive out to Indianapolis. I pick up the sprayer, all that good stuff. I had my car full. I was at Home Depot for 2 hours, just lighting my credit card on fire, just buying everything and then some. I get all the equipment back to our Fair Lawn office at the time, and I remember just unloading it. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew, like, hey, like, this is probably the right direction. Let's see what happens here. And essentially, like, I had to go home and sleep because I was, like, literally passing out at this point because I was so tired. I was up for almost 2 days. Next day I come back and I just convinced myself I'm going to be able to replicate what that guy does. So verbatim, I get on YouTube and I literally watch how do people refinish bathtubs. Although I didn't call it that because I didn't know it was called that. Instead I said, how do people paint bathtubs? And that's what I typed in. And like resurfacing popped up, refinishing popped up, you name it. And I got the hang of it. We did some services successfully at this point. The old method, sprayers, hazmat suits, you name it. I was trying to get people to jump in with me and do it. I said, oh, it's not that bad at all. And meanwhile, they're like gearing up. They look like an astronaut, right? And so,
good luck, soldier.
Yeah. And I we were doing like.
Did you say a prayer for people when they went into the bathrooms to refinish?
Yeah, you got it.
I remember the first month we did $4,000 in revenue. Which with one person, I was like, cool, it might show itself here. Like,
that's not bad.
No,
to prove the concept, that's not bad.
Great.
It was just a few units, you know, it wasn't
Yep.
crazy. And I was like, hey, this might be doable. But the first person I had that was doing it with me, because it was still me, right?
Yep.
The first person I tried to have do it, after the first one, like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, okay. Then the next person, same thing. I was like, oh, shoot, I didn't really consider this part of it. And then I asked
Was it
him,
just because of how like just how disgusting it was and how messy?
yeah,
and
it was
smelled?
exactly. It was dangerous. The fumes were awful. Those when you're in those suits, you get so hot and you have to be moving around. It's like 110 degrees in those things.
It's like that thing.
It was miserable.
That
What is that?
mascot.
Oh, your mascot.
That's our OG.
What is
from
that?
College.
What is that?
I could see
That's
it.
Gary.
But fast forward, I just realized, like, hey, as viable as this is, as good as the market is, if I'm this miserable trying to do these services and I can't get somebody else to do them, like, why do I think I could build a national brand with this? And so before we hung it up, I tried different products. I tried things online. I remember I went to every store around, from Menards to Home Depot to Lowe's to Sherwin to PPG, you name it. And I don't want to completely discredit their products, but they are very old school. They were built for things how they used to be. And keep in mind, in multifamily, you don't have days and days and days. You literally have a handful of days. For us, we needed to be able to do a service in less than a day and call it good and move on. None of the products that were available really had that. And even the air quote good ones, they're high VOC, and the best product on the market, I won't say any names, the best product on the market was so bad, and you would have to take these containers, part A into a 5-gallon bucket, part B into a 5-gallon bucket. There's a sweat period for 30 to 60 minutes where it just had to sit still. Then you had to mix it, wait another 30 minutes, and then you had to apply it. Well, it took 3 coats, and you had to wait for each coat to dry. And so by the end of it, you've got like 15 hours invested in this. And like, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Even $800, that's not worth it.
Yeah.
You can't make money on that.
Exactly. And so I remember like sitting there, I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why is it this way? Like, there's got to be a better solution. I almost scrapped the idea. I have $12,000 in spray-on equipment at this point and some really bad products from retail. And I just remember sitting there. I was like, something's off here. This happened in October of 22, I believe it was, give or take. I go salmon fishing every year. I go to New York to do the salmon run, right? It's so fun. Highly recommend if you guys have never done it. And when I was on that trip, I remember the first day I just rested. I was tired. And that night, again, I was bored, no noise in my world at all. So I'm like, all right, I got to keep myself busy here. Like, I'm going to drive myself nuts. Let's do something. I don't know why. I got on Amazon and I bought a backpack and every tool required to paint a bathtub if you didn't have a sprayer. And so I just started buying from caulk removers to you name it, and it all could fit in this backpack. So that part of it was like, oh, this is interesting. So, and I also, the thing is, I didn't just buy one. I bought them in bulk, and they started showing up to my office when I was on this trip. And I remember somebody from my team called and said, hey, dude, you got like 45 boxes from Amazon here. I said, cool, start inventorying them. They've never seen this inventory. They don't know what's going on. I don't even know if it's going to really work, to be honest with you. It's probably bad planning on my behalf. And then we got to the point where it's like, okay, help us bridge this gap. There was some other pour over like products on the market, like I was saying, but they're all bad. So I finally just, I took those, I took like 5 of those to a third party. And again, like it's not a really, it wasn't a super clever like idea or anything like that. It wasn't I wish it was more exciting of like how I landed on it. I literally Googled coatings manufacturers / laboratories near me. And there was like 5 that popped up, and I just started calling like, hey, can you make me an epoxy coating product? And like, I got laughed off the phone 4 times. And then the 5th one, he almost did. But I said, dude, help me speak the language. What am I looking for? And he actually helped me out. He says, you need this, you need that. Like, here's who you need to find. I said, thank you. And so that was helpful. Shout out to that guy. And I essentially found a lab. I took him 5 products that didn't work. They had good features, but they also had detrimental features too. And I said, hey, I need something that has all of these best features. I need to be able to do it in this time frame, and it can't have VOC in it. And we spent over a year of R&D, roughly a year, give or take. And essentially it was back and forth. We would contribute from the service side, the operations side. I'd make sure that it fit into like the whole procedure there. And roughly a year later, we had over 70 versions of this product in R&D.
Wow.
And I knew that we were onto something because the 10th one was significantly better than what was on the market today. And so I said, cool, keep it going. So we pressed as hard as we could to where there's literally nothing left to press on. And essentially, that's how we got our own product made and third-party tested. So we sent it off to ChemQuest, who's a big manufacturer in our space. And we said, hey, we want you to blindly test, meaning no bias, no nothing. Here's the features that we want you to grade for. Test it against product A, B, C, or D. We didn't tell them what the names were or anything like that. We affixed like the how-to instructions from the manufacturer. And our results came back. We were 10 out of 10, the best in every category from the largest coatings in our space available in the world, owned by Fortune 100 companies.
Wow.
And I remember we got that back, and I said, I looked at my team, said, we have one thing left to do. And like, what's that? I said, we got to patent this thing. So again, Q and Dave Mateus, and that's how that all came together.
Mike.
Yeah.
I love it.
So long story short, that's essentially how we stumbled into our refinishing product, which is liquid liner.
I don't think that's stumbling into something, to be honest. I think that takes a very specific person to do what I'm serious. Like, you might think it's natural to you, or like you're just. That is so impressive.
Yeah,
man. Like, I don't think you understand how impressive that is.
No,
from
I'm not understating it, but no,
it's incredible. It's just a testament to like who and what you are. Contractor to, deluxe contractor, systems contractor. Then you're just.
It's like when people tell us,
building
like,
a product
it's like,
working with laboratories.
We'll describe what we do here. It's like, we're just delivering food. It's like, it's going from A to B. It's not that hard, but in all reality, like, doing it at scale is very, very difficult.
Used to get pissed at me when I would say that.
I guess it's not easy.
Because I'm trying to downplay. I'm like, anyone can do this.
Yeah, taking their food.
Yep.
No, it's not. So, you might think that's very easy, or it's like it's not complicated. Dude, that is so. I mean, that is what really impressed me about you. Is that you created, you innovated. It's not necessarily, you're not necessarily created. You didn't create the first, bathtub or refinishing product. You innovated on it, and you made it to where it was better, safer, more economical. And again, what did that? You obviously, I don't want to butt in your story here. You've patented it. Then what happened?
It got patented. We were introduced to a private equity company around that time who was very heavily focused. I've already said their name a million times, so I'm just going to say it here. Shout out to the Kaulig Capital team. Matt Kaulig and his team. He was the one that started Leaf Filter, if you guys are familiar with that. built a massive brand, very involved in this community, doing incredible things, similar space, a lot of synergies, all those kind of things. We got connected because of the space that we're in, and they're into home services and whatnot. They have water treatment to garage floors, you name it. We had a couple conversations with them, and essentially it went, at first it was, how is that any different? How's that any different than what's already on the market today relating to bathtub refinishing or what have you? And I kind of told him the process at exactly the same story like I just told you guys. And he said, oh, wow, that's incredible. Like, could I see the product? I literally had it in a backpack with me there. And I said, yeah, check it out. Because I knew I was meeting him, his team at least. And I was like, I got to get it in his hands. Yeah, here we go. And so
and are you looking for investment at this? Why are you even meeting with him?
So yeah, I wanted to scale the company. I wanted to grow nationwide, target cities, you name it. And for me, I had to make a choice. And again, it comes back to speed, right? Which is the theme of my life. And I could do it without them, so to say, but it would take years and years and years. Or I could have one good partner like them, and it could accelerate it, which it did, and we can be in multiple cities very quickly.
Yeah, and for, if you're in Northeast Ohio, you know who Matt Kaulig is. He's part owner of the Cleveland Guardians. They put on a great golf tournament at Firestone South. It's like the replacement of the Bridgestone Invitational, but for the senior group.
Yep.
If you're a founder in Northeast Ohio, you know that name. He is a very, very influential person in the area, and I completely agree that, as a first-time founder and entrepreneur, you need to learn from people. You need to learn from people that have done it and that have built brands. And I think, what he's done and what, it aligns directly with what you're doing here, with your multiple brands, your products. So I think that was, it didn't need to be him necessarily. I never met him, by the way, or his team, but a lot of respect for their team. But any institutional knowledge that you could have gained on how to scale your business would probably be invaluable to you.
Exactly.
It saves you just time, years. It's all these lessons that you might just learn from him instead of having to waste all this time.
Yeah, that's exactly how I looked at it. They, and Matt, from his charity stuff to his media, you name it, to NASCAR, by the way. Which
completely forgot. Forgot that.
I'm a huge
He's probably into so many other things. I don't even know that much.
Yeah.
He's probably into so much stuff.
I'm a huge car enthusiast. So when I looked him up in his companies, I saw he has I think it was 2 NASCAR teams or something like that. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is my guy. Yeah. No, but beyond that, it was very much so, 200 plus locations in the U.S. doing services, great reputation, all of those things. I wanted a value add partner in that because, look, a check is a check. Money comes and goes. Yes, it's important, but at the same time, a lot of the time money comes with strings attached, or it's with people that you don't really want to necessarily parade around. Not bad people, but just no real value adders to your life. But with Matt and his team at Kaulig, it was how they care more about how they do things versus what they're doing. And as cliche as that sounds, I don't ever want to feel like I'm in business with somebody to make a quick buck and I have to worry about what's my partner's reputation like. So I wanted to be with somebody like them. And we had other offers, just blank checks, so to say, but they were just PO boxes. Yeah, and I say that just, hey, here's your money, good luck with it. I need the return.
Yeah, so you needed that strategic partner.
Correct.
Right? You needed that strategic guy that's going to come in, look at your business, tell you what's wrong with it. Yeah. And if you want to scale nationwide, I couldn't think of a better guy in the area to learn from than that guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, money's not going to save the time. It's the experience that you get from them.
Yeah, precisely.
Makes it go quicker.
Yeah, and that part has been invaluable. Yeah, so technically I was looking for money to scale, but I wasn't in dire need necessarily. Instead, it was very much so let's see what kind of value we can come up with. And I'm always I'm open. If somebody wants to meet and I enjoy their story, there's value to be had there. I'm open. I probably meet most more random people than others. I'm just always networking and trying to collab and meet like-minded people. So that was also a big reason why I took the meeting with them. But essentially when that whole process. When we got linked up with them, the product was finalized, not the patent, but it was done. We had a third-party manufacturer help us out, sign up to also produce it for us at scale, which is very important. And then when we linked up with the Kaulig team initially for due diligence, they actually came out and they saw the facilities where it was made at. They double checked everything. But at that point, it was just trade secret. Like our ingredients were just trade secret and whatnot. I wouldn't tell a soul what's in it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it was one of the stipulations of the deal, but you can tell it was very important to them and to me to get it patented right away. And so simultaneously, all those things kind of collided all at once, where we started talking to them. We weren't sure where it was going to go, but whereas we have the best product available in the world, we need to make sure it's protected. All those things kind of happened all at once.
When you handed him that backpack, what did he say?
Yeah, so so we sat down.
Yeah, that leaves an impression.
Yeah,
Right.
and full transparency, it wasn't with Matt directly. He has a lot of good, capable team members, and I remember I sat down with it was his CFO, a couple of his deal people, his operations guys. People that have done incredible things, by the way. They're the most humble group ever. You don't really realize the significance that they've had until you do a bio search on them, by the way. And so I sat down and I remember I opened up the backpack and I have it with me, and the way I framed it was, we essentially have a business in a backpack. And what do you mean by that? I said, everything you need to do to produce dollars in this industry, which normally requires thousands of dollars of spray on equipment, I could do in my backpack. And they said, explain it. So I literally took it out. I showed them the backpack with all the hand tools in it. I pulled out our liquid liner box, and it has the epoxy in it. It has our sandpaper, everything else that you need to do the service. And I said, this is it. This is all you need to do to produce a high-ticket bathtub refinish in one day. And they asked questions and whatnot. And I remember at that point, I was excited because I've only ever done services up to this point. I've never had a tangible product that I could show people.
So different.
Yeah.
So different.
And to me, it was
I'm going through the same thing right now here.
yeah, it was one of the coolest moments of my career, my journey so far, because I was so proud. I was like, I finally don't have to tell people what I do, or hand them a brochure. I literally let them have it. They can feel it. They can see it. They can smell it. And when I tell people, normally this is where they get really interested. When I say, so it's the best product on the market, it's 30 times thicker than spray-on applications, no peel, and by the way, no odor. They always, like clockwork, they open that thing up, they sniff it, and wow, there's no smell to this thing. That's it. Wow. And if that's, I don't want to say verbatim, that's how it went with their team, but essentially that's when you boil it down, that's how the whole process went. And obviously we talked about addressable market and process and all those kind of things, but I think the product and the capabilities of doing it out of a backpack is what really got them on board right away.
That's awesome. And was your mentality to sell the product in Home Depots, those things, or you're always trying to pair it with a service?
Yeah.
What is, because obviously you have your service background, so it makes sense to kind of combine, but
absolutely. I like to have a lot of options. The short answer is I don't really know the final form of it quite yet. Obviously, that part is definitely an option. I don't want to say it's a shoo-in, but when you have a third-party best-in-class product, it's probably easy to get it on shelves. That's what I've learned so far.
Yeah.
But for us, I like having the options, and so we own there. You have the service brand, then you have the product brand. And I like that because we have the options to either keep selling it to our team. We can sell it direct to pro. We can sell it on Amazon if we wanted to. But I think what I would really like to do is partner with a larger company who specializes in coatings. This is my first rip at making products at scale, and we have a lot of good partners, but I can only read so fast. I'm trying to learn this in real time and go, but I always look for value-add partners, and that could be from the Kaulig team as well. I'm just saying out loud, I think that there's probably more value to be extracted on that side, just from people that have a little bit more, a deeper footing in that world, so to say.
Absolutely.
But I think that the application for it is incredible. The reach, there's so much opportunity for it. We've actually gotten approached by other PE companies, private equity companies that have coatings or remodeling businesses, and they want to buy it from us at scale. I won't say their name, but when we finally got the patent done, a week before, everything was filed, we had this large multi-billion-dollar private equity company reach out to us, and they said, hey, so-and-so, you've golfed with this person, whatever, however the connection came. And I said, yeah, how can I help you guys? And they said, bring your backpack and your product and come down to Atlanta. And so we did that. And I was like, what do you guys want to do? They said, first, we want you to show us a product, how easy it is. So we did it. And then I said, what do you guys want? Where's this going? And look, if I trust somebody, if I'm excited to meet them, they seem cool, I'll just go on a whim and just do it. And that's what happened in Atlanta. And essentially where this whole thing went was, They said, hey, we are in almost every state. We have a massive presence here. We do things from flooring to remodeling, and we think that liquid liner could be a fantastic add-on for our own portfolio. And so to make that full circle, we have other PE companies and other companies in general asking us to buy the product from us just to put it into their current operations.
Yep.
And so I look at that, and there's probably opportunity there to partner with somebody at a higher scale, to have a value-add partner and really just take it and run.
You ever thought about going retail?
Yeah, we have. Our product is so simple to use that you probably could.
Yeah,
do
like
it.
if I'm a DIY guy and I'm a, college kid, summertime, like, and I want to make some extra bucks. It's like, why wouldn't I want to go to Home Depot and get one of these backpacks and just go have my own little business?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're exploring that model right now too. But again, it comes down to ease of use. For us, every process we have, it's documented, it's SOP, all those good things. But then also on the back of our box, there's a simple QR code to scan. And it's not quite full-fledged done yet because we're not selling to retail today. In the future, we will. But if you scan that QR code, it'll literally have step-by-step video instructions. Here's the first step. Here's the second
Just
step.
making it so easy.
That's our goal is always, if not to undermine them, but we need to make it so simple that a child could follow the instructions and do it.
Yeah.
And that's how simple we've made the whole process.
I feel like consumers want that. They don't want to complicate, because if they're not experts at doing it, especially retail, it's like, if I'm a DIY guy, give me the path of least resistance.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I couldn't buy this right now, correct?
You can call me and get some, but not from the store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood. So you guys are the only ones who are using this.
Correct.
Your own service. That's it.
Yep.
Understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably got to validate the go-to-market for some areas, especially retail.
Yeah, they got a ton of options.
Yeah,
You have,
but
selling it to Sherwin. You have so many
feel like-
different things.
Yeah.
This might need to be our first, second time guest in the Founders Series. We're getting coming up on time already. I could keep talking about this, but I want to wrap it up a little bit. Just couple more questions. All right, we'll get into the last question. Is the fun one, but 3 to 5 years from now, and when we have you on for the second time, we'll talk about this again. But 3 to 5 years now, what's TurnServ doing? Like what do you envision? What market? Like, are you guys in different markets, different products?
Sure. Essentially, it boils down to a larger impact, and here's what I mean by that. So today we are tiptoeing into our 5th market, and I really think that our solutions can solve and provide convenience across the globe. But we're going to focus on the U.S. Obviously, we're probably going to be in 20 to 30 locations. And we're going to have offshoots. We're going to have new business streams from product sales to who knows what else. We have partnerships on the horizon as well, which is going to kind of rekindle some of our old brands, which I'm excited for, with some very large players. So in a nutshell, we're probably in 20 to 30 cities, and our portfolio of options is probably increased by 2 to 3x.
I love it, man.
How about the employee side, managing people? I think this is something that, this is a problem and an opportunity in every single business.
Yeah.
Do you have all contractors? Do you have employees? How many?
So we started off the W-2 model. We like that because of the convenience and also the quality. We can control the quality quite well. With the refinishing product, like what you just said earlier, Aaron, about can somebody else buy this and go do it? We are actively looking at the 1099 installer model as well, just to reach more people. But the product people side, so mostly W-2. At our highest state before we kind of cleaned up a little bit more, we had 62 employees,
Okay.
company wise. And what was the second part of that question? I forget what the.
How are you managing these people?
How?
now?
Okay. So a big thing for us, and what I've learned through trial and error and pain, to be honest with you, is managing up front. And what I mean by that is handling the worst case scenarios beforehand and agreeing on, hey, here's how things should go, and here's some cool incentives. Here's our culture. Here's who we're looking for. And everybody, we embrace those things and whatnot. But also just really just getting people to buy into the bigger picture, like seeing that we're making, yes, at the end of the day, we paint bathtubs is a simple way that people say it.
Sure.
But when you boil it down, we do so much more than that. It's convenience, it's jobs, it's so many more things. And we want people to get behind that. So small things. And a lot of people initially might throw stones at this idea, but I think it's helped us so much. How do you manage that many employees at scale? They don't come into your office every day. They have to be on time, do a good job. They have to follow procedures. How do you possibly manage those? One, you got to treat them good. We pay very well. 2, we had to incorporate, obviously we have a handbook, but we had to incorporate an employee point system that everybody, myself included, is subject to. And what that does is manage outcomes. So for us, example, no call, no show is worth a certain amount of points, and these roll off over time or what have you. Being out of uniform or not embracing core values, whatever it might be, there were certain points that are quantified, and they roll off after 6 months. And it sounds harsh until you realize your best performers, your A-plus players, they want there to be accountability because they love doing a good job. Whereas somebody else comes in and they're a low performer, they are going to get smoked out way quicker by your best employees as long as you're looking for it. And so
we've seen this.
I know you've heard this expression. A players want to play with A players.
Correct.
They only want to play with A players. They don't want to play with B or C players. You know, and that's
absolutely true.
I think Steve Jobs talks about this at length with how he built out the Apple. You know, every good team at Apple, it was only A players. Ever. So
absolutely. The last part of that point system is this. Instead of giving marching orders out to everybody and saying, hey, here's what I came up with. Look how clever I am. Follow it. Go. We essentially came up with our biggest detractors of, okay, if this happens, this causes things to go sideways. We need to make sure that we don't do this. Here's a process to be followed. If it's not, it's worth a half point, 1 point, etc. I actually push it out the entire team, not just the C-suite, so to say, not just upper management. The employees, everybody, all voted on what's worth what amount of points and what is the outcome if at a certain level.
Interesting.
I thought for sure that it was going to be way more graceful if I had the full team do it. Like, hey, this is worth 0.1 of a point. They were actually overly harsh, way more harsh than I was going to be.
Wow.
And we actually dialed some of them back down. Again, it comes back to the culture and having people that want to do a good job. Even somebody that's air quotes, all they want to do is install or all they want to do is paint. They also are high performers and they want to protect that.
Absolutely.
So when we had everybody kind of vote on it, it's incredible how quickly it is to enforce because now I don't have to remind people like, oh, remember, we don't walk around saying that's worth 2 points. Instead, if we get into those problems with people, our team kind of self-manages. Like, hey, just so you know, like if you decide to be out of uniform for your 14th day in a row, that's going to be a half a point. Just looking out for you. And that's their way of kind of embracing that, so to say.
That's
I
incredible.
love it, man.
We got the team behind it.
The self-policing.
That's
is
so cool.
Awesome. People care.
That's a player-led team right there.
Absolutely. People care.
Absolutely.
I have one other question. How has it been working with family office, Kaulig? What has been, I'm sure they add a ton of different things.
Yeah.
How long have you been with them? A year?
We closed that deal, I think it was July of last year.
Okay. So still fresh?
Yeah. Still within 12 months.
What's been the immediate, first few things that they've helped you with? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the big thing, the first and foremost thing, it's kind of self-imposed. It's just expectations out of myself, and you feel this obligation and responsibility, as you should, when you have that kind of partner. So that part, not that I never had not taken it seriously, but the whole team and myself just felt elevated. Like, hey guys, we're no longer playing mom and pop here. It's next level. Let's treat it like such.
And it's not like they're a boss because you still run the business. It's
Correct.
just a little extra accountability.
Absolutely. They are our capital partners. They're great. They let me run most components of the business. The day-to-day stuff, that's all on me and whatnot. There's a lot of trust from them, so to say. I would say the most impactful thing outside of that first thing, all the self-imposed stuff, that's where, you can stress yourself out. That's where you could really get yourself on cloud nine, you name it. But I think the biggest thing is their perspective and their experience. Looking at financials, for example, when you surround yourself with people, that's all they do all day long, and not just an accountant or a bookkeeper that says hey, how should we book this? The ledger's out of balance. What's this expense go to? Now I'm having conversations way higher level than I've ever had before. And any time you're not familiar with something, there's an element of being uncomfortable, right? And so leaning into that, it has really taught me how to embrace the unknown. For the past 5 years, it's been all me for the most part. I haven't really had to answer to anybody other than myself.
Obviously, you're not scared of the unknown.
Correct. I fully embrace
time.
it, and I like the feeling because it's not normal, it's not routine. But just having that extra partner and just somebody else that's holding certain things accountable, even if they're going well.
Yep.
I think it's very important to manage things when they're going well too. Just somebody that has a different perspective, and you feel like you learn everything that they wanted you to learn, and then like, okay, let's start looking at this next layer. It's like, let's go. Like, here we go. So just the people in the room, just really setting the bar high and whatnot. That part, depending on how you look at it, I'm sure some people would shun away from that, so to say. But I really lean into that, and I try to fully embrace it and see their perspective all the time. It's been great.
That's great. Yeah, it's a scary thing to have a partner like that. So
especially when
amazing.
you never. Well, I mean, you had a little experience taking money from investors, so it's like you had a little bit of background.
Oh yeah, working with
But someone like someone like Matt, it's a different beast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. I mean, so we do a little fun on this show besides talking about businesses and founders and your story. We do like to end the show with, what are we calling it now? Rapid fire fun clips. It was called this or that. I'm going to lead off this one, John, because John threw me a curveball last week, and I was just completely thrown off. All right, so you play football.
Yes.
You played a fair amount.
Yep.
If you had to play for one school, if you'd had your choice, you were recruited by any school in the world.
Yeah.
Where would you have played?
Miami, Florida, because Ray Lewis went there, and I know he's very controversial, but he was. I loved his tenacity and his aggressiveness. I would not have fit in at Miami only because my play style was different and I was not good enough or anything like that.
Were you like Ray? Were you just go in there and just absolutely fuck people up?
I love
you can't say what you want to say.
Yeah, I'm careful. I love the whole thing of it's just sheer force. I love you control your own destiny playing football and whatnot. So I was a very physical player, and I those from his playing side of things. That's why I admired Ray Lewis. Just the playing side of things.
I hope so. Come on, John.
I'm going to skip around a little bit.
I
What's
know.
the
I can't do this with him.
what was the worst home you worked on?
It was in towards Ohio City, and
John lives in Ohio City.
Okay. Well, this was also this is probably a outskirt of Ohio City, and this was also 12.
Was it on John? Was it on John Avenue or between John Avenue and 45th Street?
I think it was. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
It's like face.
No, I forget. I forget what it was. But essentially, it was a condemned house, right? And it was condemned because there was mass underground flooding, and this basement constantly had 3 to 4 feet of water in it, no matter what they did. And you can imagine what grows in that sort of water over time. And we got called out. This was early on before I could select the houses that we'd flip, and we got called out by one of our partners and hey, help us out here. And hey, there's a little bit of water in the basement. See what you can do. I was like, yeah, no problem. We'll get a sump pump. We'll take care of it. We'll waterproof, whatever. Then we go downstairs, and the mold smell was awful. Right away, it just hit you like a ton of bricks, and it was literally like black water that was in the basement. And it's been there so long where it started to creep up the drywall and over everything. It must have been, it was in that condition for God knows how long. It was bad.
Years probably, right?
Yeah. And the kicker is this. So we told them hey, we're going to sump pump this out for you, but we're not, this is a demolition. This is not a renovation. This is
burn this place down.
Yeah. You need a match. You don't need a handyman. I don't know what to tell you. The kicker is this. It was a bank-owned house, went into foreclosure. Investors trying to buy it, but dealing with a lot of issues there. Well, not a previous owner, but somebody that the owner knew, who essentially went homeless, ended up staying in one of the bedrooms that whole time and slept in this house where there's 4 feet of water, moldy water in the basement. So that part was kind of a curveball. That one was too much. So we just had to. We did the sump pump thing. We were there for 2 hours and we were gone. So pretty bad.
So that's where all the potholes drain into, that basement.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one.
Wait, when was that?
That was 2015,
okay,
give or take.
Jeez.
That'll push you out of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Trying to get somebody else to do that was not fun.
All right, staying in Cleveland. You're a football guy through and through. Browns fan?
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to have one of the teams win a championship, would it be Guardians, Browns, Cavs?
At this, I got to say Browns, right? It's got to be the Browns at this point.
Yeah.
I want it. I think it's overdue, and regardless of how far out of reach I think it might be, it would be cool to see the Browns win one in my lifetime.
They got to trade that draft pick down. They can't pick a quarterback at number 2.
It's tough.
You just gonna do it again? Are you kidding me?
You can't let Barry make that pick.
Holy shit!
Yeah, the reason I almost said like the guards or somebody else just because I felt like it's more realistic, and I don't mean to talk down about the Browns, but we've all been Browns fans, right, our whole lives. So it's the struggle.
Sadly,
and
we're
the
Browns. Sadly, we're all Browns fans.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's really you just bet against them. You just
That's
win
it.
every time.
We started. Yeah, I invented something called buying the win, because like being a Browns fan, it's like you have to suffer one way or another. So it's like you either have to financially suffer or emotionally suffer. So I would always bet on the other team to beat them. So either way, you win.
Yeah, probably won a lot, but
Like,
yeah.
definitely
I did.
Throughout
I
the
did.
season, you're going to be up. You might lose 3
We
or
made
4
quite
times.
we made quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking. I'm not like one of those guys going to put like $10,000 on a bet, but $50 here, $100 again. Only against. I don't bet on many other things. It's only against the Browns.
Bet against the Browns. I like it.
And we would do like we'll bet against like if the Cavs are in the playoffs, we'll bet on the other team to win.
Yep. Yeah, you got to buy the win.
Yeah, we call buying the win.
That's awesome. Yeah, go Browns.
Go Browns, man.
All right. I don't know if you've necessarily purchased, but what is the largest portfolio you've either purchased or worked on?
As far as real estate portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
probably the guy from New York, $250 million. That was over 2,000 units, and
Was it he'd have that just in Cleveland, just in Ohio?
combination of Cleveland, Columbus, and Cleveland. I was going to say Westlake, but a couple in Cuyahoga Falls too.
That's amazing.
So 2,000, and it was a dozen or so properties, mostly luxury, A class, and some Bs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to experience every aspect. The only thing I didn't get experience with in that portfolio was affordable. So
Sure.
But yeah, that was definitely the largest one that I've had under my thumb. Was $250 million.
That's awesome. If you weren't all right, last one. If you weren't doing TurnServ, what do you think you'd be doing? What would you like to do? Industry.
I would probably follow the path of the people I enjoy watching or learning from or seeing what they've done. I'm a huge documentary guy, and I always find myself fascinated by financial documentaries and key movers from VCs to private equity to hedge funds, you name it. I would probably guess I would be doing something around some sort of investments or something portfolio-wise where it could be big and fast.
You're like a deal maker.
All in one. Yeah, transactions or something like that. Just because, again, the pace, that how quick it is and how big they can get and whatnot. Yeah. Probably something along those lines. I can't really see myself doing anything else. I'd probably be bad at most other things unless I was like behind the steering wheel, so to say. So probably something in finance or some sort of operations at scale, if I had to guess.
I like it.
John, what would you do? I don't really ask you this question.
I think it'd be something in finance as well. Doing something with equities.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You know what I would do? Swear, I think I would be like a golf pro, like at a country club where I'd be a club fitter. I love the game of golf. Like it's a passion of mine. So like, if I wasn't doing this, I would not be. I don't think I'd be running or like involved in a startup. I think I'd be doing more like a small time.
Yeah.
Maybe something with cars.
Yeah.
Love cars. Yeah. That or just money. Just strict money.
John loves cars because he likes buying lemons.
So. Oh, you got a lemon?
Best deal I've ever made.
It's a lemon, but it's not a lemon. So.
Yep. Next podcast.
Yeah. We'll get into the lemon stories after, because there's a few of them. All right. Not a single lemon. There's a couple lemons.
I'm always looking for a deal.
But Tyler, man, it's been such a pleasure. I think you will be the first second time appearance on this podcast.
I hope so.
Because I think we kind of cut it short today. I mean, we've talked for an hour and 15 maybe.
I love it.
At least. I mean, I feel like we could keep going.
Hour 25.
Yeah. So we don't. No one's
Sorry,
gonna.
guys.
Yeah.
He always cuts it off. It's time. We gotta go.
Well, I mean, an hour and a half. I mean, no one's gonna watch the whole episode if we
We'll
don't.
see.
But one thing we'd like to do as well is, where can our audience learn more about, Tyler? Like, are you on LinkedIn, Facebook, and then also your brands? Like how can people find you online?
Sure. So, very active on LinkedIn, and I've recently against my own comfortability, have propped up my own kind of bio website, so to say. It has a link to all of my things. DunaginCollective.com. That's where I can kind of talk about my team, show some of the articles that I've been in, and where I get to talk about some of the companies and the brands that I'm involved in. So check that out. And then all of my brands are also listed on TurnServ.com, and that's our portfolio holding company, where you can see apartment painters, apartment flooring, whole shebang. So any aspect there. LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me. I try to respond to every message unless it's an automated sales message. So hit me up on there. Fair. And other social medias too, just to show off some of my hobbies and muscle cars to my kids. So anywhere, I'm active.
Awesome.
Love it, man.
Awesome.
Man, appreciate it. Great episode. Look forward to the next one.
Agreed.
Right on. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben.
Man.